It has been a huge blessing to get to do this project. It has brought me to the edges of my own fear and anxiety, but it's also uncovered huge gifts and value for my own self. I'm so excited to get to share this. And there's still a side of me that's a little afraid, but that's how I know it's really good. I want everybody to get to taste what it is to love themselves. And as I've done this, I've only increased the love I have for myself, which I didn't think was possible.
Have the grace to keep on moving on at a pace that's right where you belong. In the face of all that's going on, you don't have to run that race. In the time where the chaos seems too much, oppressed don't even seem to touch. The waning hearts too tired to show their face. Have the grace.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge that we are all indeed gathered right here with our feet on the ground and our hearts present in this room on the unceded ancestral territory of the Syilx people. It is a privilege to hold this conversation here on this land with all of you in this room. And we are going to go on an adventure together, and I'm so glad you're all here. My name is Jennifer Vincent. I am the managing director here at Tempest, and I am also co-producer of this docuseries that you are now also a part of, TransMan. This is also our first live studio audience, and so that is really exciting too. And it would be my great pleasure at this point to introduce Kyler Salmark, who is our star and our co-producer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I thought this would get easier. It's not easier yet. That's okay. Thank you all for being here tonight. I so appreciate each person here. I think there's a lot of us that actually have a lot more in common than we think, and that's really the stuff that we find scary about ourselves. In our society, it's all really about feeling good, looking good, having kind of a romanticized image of what everybody else is doing and what they have. And, you know, we don't really talk about the internal as much, the house of the soul. I was a little nervous to do this program because I am somewhat introverted. And I had a huge amount of shame around my story. Part of why I did not transition earlier was I didn't want to become like the men I had seen most of my life growing up. I knew that I felt very male inside, but I knew that what I was seeing did not feel good on my heart. I've been raised by a single woman. Yes, she had some husbands, but it was mostly her taking care of me. And I saw so many attributes about that, of strength and compassion and kindness and caring and the stuff that I really love and want to bring into the world. And so I thought I could do that as Monica Solmark. And it was going fairly well. I'm really good at denial. In my 30s, I just shut it down because I didn't know where to go with that. That would have been like in the late 90s. I'm now 50-some. But in the 90s, it was quite different. And yes, it's very hostile right now. But the 90s had a different hostility. And so, I thought I would take that with me. And then I got the blessing and the curse of cancer. I have to say it that way because for many people, they don't have an easy ride. And I was really lucky. I got a free chest surgery, and I felt really good about that. And then I felt guilty about that because there's a lot of people that have a very hard time with it or that really appreciated what they were born with. And I felt like I was on the wrong side of all of that. But when I woke up from the surgery, I realized I was thinking too much about all the messaging I've been given of what I should be. And the truth is that I'm just another human that really wants to be loved and wants to love. And I want to live all of me, and I wasn't. I was taking myself to the grave. And that's not what I think my Creator ever planned for me. And the best thing I could do is be the best me. And so as I woke up from my first cancer surgery, I was in a lot of pain. I had given permission to have chest expanders, which was the worst choice in my life. I've never had so much pain, and it really, I swore that was the last time I was going to kick my own ass and stop doing this to myself. There's nothing harder than knowing that I've done that to me. So the villain of my story is me. And I don't want anybody else in the world to keep going through that prison. Nobody has to be there, and I'm so glad I let myself out. And it's embarrassing to admit it, but it's the truth, and it's something that I am going to work through and own because I'm a wonderful being just like everyone else. And the more that I think about the self-love, thank you. The more I think about self-love and the stuff that really allows me to live my joy, that is what I want to share. And that is why I did the documentary, and that is why I'm talking to you and why I'm putting myself out. Because I think that is the message that is needed today. It's not facts that are going to change anybody's mind. And the stories that we share, they hold weight, especially when we feel like we belong and we can move a safe space to a brave space. Thank you again. Hello, and welcome back from our commercial break. I'm just kidding. Thank you all for being here tonight. I would like to introduce the guests that we have tonight. Starting to my left, I have Melissa Edgerly from The Foundry. We also Kelly Terbasket. Close to the tree, Madeline Terbasket. To my far right, we have fabulous Mikey, social media. The darling Will. And the fiercely funny Kane Critchlow. Thank you. Thank you for all joining. So we have about 45 minutes to have some fantastic conversations, some fierce comments. Would anybody like to start tonight? And no, we're a wrap. Okay. Please start us up. It was really interesting because I didn't want to put the mask on to some degree. And the mask work and having to do that, and we had to just play with them a little bit and try to get the feel of the mask. And it felt really bizarre. I'll be having to. It was a very challenging play, for sure, and thinking of who that mask represented, as well, because it was like this female kind of haggard look, and what the challenge that person would have gone through, and to embody that, and I already feel somewhat haggard. It took about a month to get over the play, a little, just in having and realizing that the witch hunt is still rapid today, like we are still hunted, like everybody on this right here right now, we would all be hunted, and that really sucks to know that that's today.
I mean, I think the concept of masks is something that a lot of people can relate to. And taking off the masks is a big part of transitioning. It was for me, at least, coming into myself and being able to look at myself in the mirror, like you said in the episode, look at myself in the mirror and see myself for the first time ever. And it started with cutting my hair off, which I feel like is the last nail in the coffin of being a woman, was like, shoop, and I was like, oh, am I allowed to say that?
You didn't say it loud.
Yeah. True.
You say
But,
it louder,
like,
it's different.
taking the mask off, like that really resonates with me as a person, and coming into my own, and being able to be like, this is me for the first time ever. So.
Nice. Yeah.
Weird little side tangent to that. Just like considering upbringing and how I felt about things, and then recontextualizing those later, like in terms of when you were talking about not feeling like, why do I have to wear dresses, that kind of deal. I thought a lot about like how for periods of my life I like wanted to get cancer, as stupid as that was, as to like get my chest removed. That was the only way I knew that could even happen. And then at the same time, like thinking, gosh, I wish I could be shirtless in public. Like, I wish that was a normal thing that I could just do. And like getting into like free the nipple stuff with that. And then for myself being like, oh, that's not the route I want to go. The mask I want to take off is just my shirt and my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
My roommates have never seen me with a shirt on. It's great.
They're right. We're roommates, for context.
Next question.
No, I got more.
Okay. What you got?
Well, this was about safe spaces, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
episode 3. And like how it's the people that create those safe spaces. So like this stage in this room right now feels really safe to me. I can say stuff I shouldn't. And that's probably okay. But like the home that we live in has 5 people in it. And 3 of them are trans. And it feels so incredible to like be able to build that community and like have that community outside of the home and in like larger public spaces is really like, that feels safe to me.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
Like
And I'm so
safety in
pleased.
numbers.
Yeah.
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 In numbers of trans people and then also allies. Like, I don't think any movement is ever going to be safe unless folks who are like not in that group are also supportive and chill and cool and proactive
True
in
that.
that safety.
Yes. How about this side? Anybody want to say something?
Yeah, sure. Just with like the episode being about safe places and then the question about masks. I feel like every one of us puts on a mask every time we leave our house for different situations. And yeah, sorry, that was my cue to speak louder. I have an inside voice. I've seen the cue. I will do that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, like each one of us will put on a different mask when we leave our house, and just like having a safe space and what that does and being able to be your authentic self really makes a world of a difference. And as Kane said, I too have had top surgery, and like if you see me out in a safe place, it's without a shirt on. I'm a big gardener. I love to be in my yard. I will be in my front yard, but if there's a vehicle that's going to drive past my house, I like run to my garage and hide still, because it's just like I don't know what my neighbors or the people on my street think of me when they see me with no top on. And so I think I'm just slowly starting to feel more comfortable with not running to my garage and hiding. When I, in my house and in my yard, feel so comfortable and confident, I still am so very aware of my surroundings. And so that, to me, like, I'm still trying to be guarded in a place that is supposed to be my safe place. So it doesn't necessarily stop when we get home. So it doesn't for me, at least. And I have a partner and I have 2 kids, and so I take what the world perceives of me and them into consideration as well. So that's kind of my mask in a safe place as well, let alone when I'm out in community. That's something totally different, but yeah, being at home in a community that people are driving past, I still wear a mask. But I'm trying to do better. I'm trying.
You're doing great.
But it takes some courage.
Yeah.
So.
Would we like to try another question?
It really depends, because my role as an educator has changed more recently. Before, I was a lead teacher at a daycare, so I was in the same space with my 3 to 5-year-olds, and they knew who I was. There was a lot of questions around, like, are you a boy, are you a girl? And I told them the same thing: I'm just a person. I am just me. And most of the parents were really receptive to that and wonderful with it. But it did come up, there was some kids going home and having questions that the parents weren't ready to answer. And that was falling back on me, being like, what are you saying to these kids? So just me existing in that space did cause a little bit of strife for people. But I think it also, I wasn't willing to put a mask on, because this was my space. And I believe that in order to be a good educator, I need to be authentic and I need to be myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you feel comfortable, like, what kind of questions were they having?
The parents or the children?
Yes.
The children, it was very much like, are you a boy or a girl? And or like, are you a boy? No. Are you a girl? No. Well, you sound like a girl. I'm like, people can sound like all different ways. And so it was just a lot of the questions about, like, why do you look like this? Why do you sound like this? If you're not a girl, why are you wearing jewelry? And just getting to open up the conversation for these little humans who maybe have never seen a trans person before, or have never seen somebody who maybe pushes outside of what they would think, like a girl's supposed to be like. They're like, well, my mommy wears jewelry, and it's like, that's awesome. And they're like, but my daddy doesn't. And I'm like, that's cool too. Or like, I like to wear jewelry, and I'm like, that's great. And it's just, they have these questions, and it's really, I think it's wonderful that they don't have the filter, because then we get to have these open and authentic conversations with these kids. And I think it's great, even if the parents are like, I think it's great that the kids are going home and being like, so, tell me more about this. And they're like, so they have to, like, further do that research. And it just, I think having conversations about people outside the identities is so important. And if me just existing starts that conversation, then great.
I'm glad that we're talking about childhood and how you're interacting with children, because I think about being a child and being asked, are you a boy or a girl? And I am a boy, and I was born in that body, and that's who I am. And it really offended me that people couldn't say, that people were confused. I was offended. I also grew up in the time when it's like you watch TV and it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Or like, WWE, and it's like we're supposed to all be like beefed up and have a machine gun and like, and I just wasn't that. I've never been that. And children, I think, like, children felt really cruel, but they just knew what they knew, and were trying to place me somewhere that I don't fit. And what's really interesting as an adult is that, like I used to hate that people said I sounded like a girl. I ended up going to school for radio. I'm really comfortable listening to my own voice on voicemail. I record the voicemail message at my jobs. Like, it's just really flipped. And I think that all of the things that I was so scared about, that I hated from people questioning what gender I was, I actually love now. Like, I think it's really cool to be more balanced. I'm he, him, but like, I think that it's totally fine to be an effeminate, emotional man if that's who you are when you want to, but because I can also be strong. And I think that those children that asked those questions, like, they just didn't know, and like, that's partially why I think this project is so important, because if you want to know, you should be able to look somewhere. Or even like on Netflix. This makes me feel emotional. I watch Heartstopper with my partner, and it's just a regular story about two boys that fall in love. Nothing happened. That's it. But that's a story that needs to be told. Like, that's a story that needs to be told.
And to focus on the joy of it.
And and your story needs to be told too, so thanks for having me. I'll just be over here.
What really brings me euphoria about being Res Daddy and playing with gender through drag is getting to be my masculine self, because I didn't get to grow up exploring that side of myself regularly because I was socialized to be female. And now that I'm Two-Spirit, I just love that I can flow and be however I want to be on any given day. But getting to be Res Daddy, I get to be my most male toxic self. Yeah.
How about you, Kane?
I think everything's gender and nothing's gender. So like, thanks. I don't know, those like playing with that masculinity I think is so fun and so cool. And at the same time, I'm like, and I feel very feminine doing that, or I feel very masculine being feminine. Like I don't get that. So it's like, it's all fun. I'm on a ball team and I love wearing skirts to ball. And like that's nothing, and that's also like everything. I don't know.
I think the euphoria comes from something that is you can't really explain, because it could be as simple as, for me, putting on a pair of sweatpants where my boxer line was sticking out, and I was just like, okay, that's gender. And it could also be like putting on a dress and having short hair, but just, I think the euphoria of it came from just being able to play with it. Because, like Madeline, I was socialized female, and a big part of being a girl, of being a woman for me, was you can't have hair on your body because boys won't like you, or you look like a boy. You can't have short hair, that'll make you look like a boy. And so there was so many things that I hated about myself because I was like, that makes me look like a boy, that now I get to do and put on and go out in the world and just be excited. Wearing a backwards baseball cap just brings me so much joy, because that was something, wearing a hat was something that if I put a hat on, I was like, I look like a boy, I can't do that. I'm a girl. But now I get to just put on a hat and look like a boy and be so excited about it. And I think the euphoria is just getting to play with it and getting to be creative and getting to confuse people, quite honestly.
I kind of grew up opposite. I got to be the person that, I had 2 brothers, so I was the rough tumble kind. My parents actually just visited recently, and I knew that I had an obsession with hats. Had to take it off, I'm sorry. I knew I had an obsession with hats. I used to have a pink one that I could fold up and put in my pocket and pull out all the time. I never wanted to wear a shirt as a child until it got inappropriate, and I had to start putting on shirts and bras and all that jazz. But recently I found out that my mom would tuck me in at night, and then when she would come back and check on me, I'd have a hat on while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question for Madeline, if we're going to ask just briefly. But,
Yeah.
So Madeline, you're my two-spirit friend. And when you decided to come out, how was that for you?
Well, Indigenous communities have homophobia and transphobia, just like any other community right now. And I had to think about my own personal safety within that of, is it worth it? And I think it was totally worth it for me to come out as two-spirit, to be myself. And I have a very loving family. It's just that using they, them pronouns is something new for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. What was it like for you, Kelly, as the parent?
Well, I was just thinking when you were sharing, Will, that it is it's your children that help you grow. And, how I grew up was so different. And I grew up with homophobia, and it wasn't until I went to university that I learned about lesbians, because I went to women's studies and everybody was giving each other massages, and I was and then I was in the washroom and it said women's studies, something about lesbians, women's studies, and I was like, what? But my big learning in my life was friends, and I had some very close friends that came out, and that really pushed me through love, to learn and uncover and change my realize I was homophobic. When I was in my 20s, I had to undo all that. And so I feel but when Madeline came out, I had already done some of that work. I had already done some of that unlearning, and it wasn't. It's more that I'm protective of my family, who is really resistant to change. It's hard to be in a family and a community that is slow to learn, learn Madeline's pronouns, and it really hurts my heart. It's hard because you want your child to be safe and to be respected and loved, and so I feel protective. I think as a mom, any moms out there, you just feel so protective of your child. There's not a stronger thing than you just want your child to be seen and loved and safe. And I think about my grandparents. They didn't raise my dad speaking the language, for example, speaking our language. And I was really mad when I realized that my dad knew how to speak Insulkshan and didn't teach me. And I realized it was because it wasn't safe. And they wanted their children to be safe in the world. So don't speak our language. Don't show your indigeneity. And that was coming from a place of wanting to keep their children safe. But it meant that they had to deny themselves. And so I feel like that that helped me be a better mom for Malin, because I didn't want that for her.
That's such an interesting, that brought up a story that wanting your children to be safe. When I came out as non-binary, and I was talking about working at a daycare and like talking to the parents about it, my stepmom told me not to, told me to be very careful about who I'm sharing this with and what I'm saying. Because where I grew up in Fort St. John, and that's where they still live, it wouldn't be as okay for me to be who I am. So she was looking at me through that lens of like, I just want you to be safe, so you should hide a little bit. And I think that is necessary sometimes, and I'm hoping that we can move forward where we're allowed to be brave and we're allowed to come out and be ourselves. Yeah.
Just to touch on that for the both of you, what comes up for me, sorry, there's my cue again. What comes up for me with that is having like the parent-child relationship of like, you know, your parents are really protective of you, and as a child or as a youth, that could come off as them not accepting as well, because I personally have a hard time communicating and am not good with my words. So sometimes like I don't use my words enough to express concern and to let the person know like this is what's coming up for me and this is why I'm concerned. So it can come across as like unaccepting. But that's just kind of like what I pick up on that from the two of you is like, yeah, like parents could come across as unaccepting even though they're just really protective and don't want their child to get hurt.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so that's called gender fluid. And so, yeah, people that identify as gender fluid can literally change like day to day or week to week or month to month. And how they perceive themselves in any given day can change. Yeah, so that is very possible.
Ooh, I have a good one for this. I'm a gay male, and yeah, you can clap. You can clap. Thank you. And when I came out a long time ago, like I remember thinking that it was just this like crazy far out thing, and that like. It felt really like underground and like not accepted, and it's like come to this place where it's definitely more accepted, like, and I see other people that have the same kind of privilege as I do within my community that want to start knocking letters off so that they can just be whatever more accepted because being gay is mainstream, because I feel like it's an easier concept to understand. But all of these letters are a community, a really powerful community, and my G would have gotten nowhere without a T or an L or a B or a Q or an I or an A or a 2S or so I don't really take that kind of prejudice in my own community very kindly, because we owe a lot to the people that were before us, and we owe a lot to the people that are after us, because I wouldn't be able to experience what I consider mainstream in comparison to how it was when I came out without everybody in the community. So that's why I'm so inclusive to everybody. To every letter.
That's like the strength in numbers, the strength in letters.
Totally.
Yeah.
There could be more letters. I'm all for it. Numbers too. We're talking about prejudice. Does anyone else want to talk about prejudice? Sorry.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I really agree with what you're saying, like that ripple. And I think about decolonizing and the work that we're doing of undoing the harm of colonial, like genocide, and the impact of colonization, as Madeline said. Unfortunately, it isn't safe in our Indigenous communities, but it once was. And, we have words in our language for non-binary and two-spirit. And like my grandma, she always got mixed up with our pronouns because in Tsukshin, there are no pronouns. We don't have pronouns in our language. And so English was her second language, and she always called everyone the wrong pronoun, which we giggled at. And I never thought about it till later to understand the significance of that. So as we unlearn and, we're all relearning, we're co-learning together. And like you said, our movements are interwoven, and we lift each other up.
I have enjoyed doing the table talks through Kelly, and I noticed myself that I had picked up colonial ideas of what a man is, and I was challenged by my friends to consider defining it for myself and not using colonial markers like the big broad shoulders, the big AK-7, the swagger, or how many women I could get in a day, or but what is an actual honorable man? What a respectful and honorable person, right? And just choosing for myself instead of going off of what I've seen given to me through the media or TVs or anything like that. And I like that stretch. So I might have pink hair for Pride this year, just because, just for fun, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. You'll see it in episode 2. How about you go?
It's for me personally, a bit of a mixed bag. Mostly positive. My uncle has been one of my greatest supporters, immediately moving to being called my aunt. And folks who I was afraid to come out to because they had expressed kind of some reactionary, some casually transphobic views I came out to, and they immediately were like, oh, we love and cherish you, and we will now learn how to do better. And they, of course, make mistakes, but consistently, I think most of them are looking to learn to do better and be there for me as much as I want to be there for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Nice and loud.
I'm with Kane. It's a mixed bag, and it changes. My experience with my family has kind of gone a little bit like this. I figured out, oh no, I'm non-binary, I'm trans, and I immediately had to tell people because I so desperately want connection with my family and with the people around me that I wanted them to know this about me. And at the start, my dad was very that's great, I love you no matter what. And since then, he's kind of fallen off, has said to me, you'll just always be my little girl, or I don't understand, isn't taking the step further to learn more about it and learn more about my identity. And my mom at the beginning was I was have you ever heard of they, them pronouns? And she snorted, had a laugh. And I was okay, this is going to go really well. But she has actually been such a surprising person in learning about me and trying really hard. Because that's all I personally ask. That's all we ask, is just a little bit of effort and a little bit of grace. And we offer that grace to our families. But I got a text from my uncle. I have an uncle like yours who's just wonderful. And he, out of the blue, haven't spoken to him in a month, and is you are my nibbling. And I was just for those of you that don't know, nibbling is a gender-neutral term for niece or nephew. And yeah, just out of the blue, you are my nibbling. So, and I've gotten, I grew up in, we didn't have a lot of trans representation. So the pronouns, the gender-neutral language is tough, and I understand that. But I've gotten a very, just across the board, this makes sense to us. Like, you coming out and being trans makes sense to us. And I'm like, perfect, great. So there's like some positive, some not so positive, but I wouldn't change it.
How about you, Melissa?
I knew you were going to call me.
Nice and loud.
Nice and loud, yeah. So my chosen family, my partner and my children. My partner knew me before I started transitioning, and so I was very nervous. I was nervous to potentially give up the person that loved me for who I was. I was nervous to say goodbye to a relationship if putting myself first and putting who I wanted to be first was going to wreck that. So I held on to that for a little while, but my partner is amazing and loving and has supported me and continues to support me as I explore my gender and my transitioning going forward. My children are also fantastic. When we talk to them about pronouns, they were just like, Kate, they got it. My youngest, every time they refer to me and I hear they, them, I just like get this big like euphoric feeling of like, yes, because anybody that's ever changed pronouns, it's a learning period. And so it's really great to hear that. I always want to like be like, oh, they did it, right? Just to like, but I've now held that in because it happens so often, but it's still euphoric every time. My parents are practicing Jehovah's Witnesses. They're having a hard time with it. They try to do pronouns. They really do. It doesn't happen often, and I don't speak to them as frequently as they would like or as frequently as I would like. But they're trying. Again, my dad kind of said the same thing, like, you're always going to be my little girl, and I'm always going to be your dad, and, you know. So that is challenging. When I first came out to my parents, there were conversations that I hadn't even had with my partner about the questions that was coming from my mother. It was very overwhelming, triggering, inappropriate, but just had all the questions and wanted answers, and I was just like, I don't have these answers. And so that has been a learning curve, but it was, again, like all of what society was like saying that I should have been. And so, like, to me, I thought that it would just kind of click to them that, like, hey, like, I'm not a girl, and like my childhood should make sense to you about me fighting, like, you know, T-shirts and dresses, but it's still been a challenge, but they're doing better, and they love me for me, so that's what counts.
Yeah.
A hand works. Honestly, I get the worst questions all the time, and it's really irritating because I'm Indigenous, I'm fat, I'm Two-Spirit, all those things. Sometimes you just have to set boundaries. I also talk to myself a lot in my head, going over what I could say at different situations. Because in this world, I don't feel safe. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting questions. Only because I feel like most people my age and older need to start asking more questions and having someone to ask. And I would like to take some of the heat off of the younger folks and just let them be, because they're clearly very understanding of their own selves. And the challenge of our social paradigm that's been rammed down our throats for a good couple of 100 years. I've been doing some history. But the bottom line, really, is the more we keep talking about it and getting people comfortable asking questions, the better it is. And being able to answer them is something that takes a lot of personal development and wanting to. We're not always there in that same space every day. So some days it's like yes, some days it's like no, please go away. Having some sort of forum would be a great way to do it. We have 5 minutes. Anybody else have a question?
I have a question for Tyler.
Well, it was probably being stuck in my condo with ice packs on my chest and not being able to move for hours at a time and a lot of pain, and realizing the world would go on without me anyways. And so nothing really matters then. And if nothing really matters if I'm here or not, then I might as well be here the way I want to be here, because they're going on without me anyways. So why not give myself that break and actually enjoy being here? Because it's a long life to be that close to wanting death. It's no fun. And as soon as I made that choice and the difference of that, life is so different. It is so much, it's so good. I wish I could put it into words, but that would be my hope for everybody, is that they could find their own key to get out of whatever prison that you've allowed yourself into or were put into, because we're all worth transitioning. And I think that's the time right now, is all of us are transitioning into our best selves. And I really think that is the words right now in this whole world. What's holding everybody else back? I'm lucky.
Okay, so the part that I need help with is the TransMan part. So if you can play that part. Yeah. So that's the chord.
TransMan.
Yeah. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. TransMan. Yeah. We'll just work on that part. Whoa, slow. Whoa, a little bit slower.
We want slower?
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Here we go. TransMan. And then that's my part. I sing TransMan. And then I'm going to sing some more. And then you guys are going to sing TransMan. That's right.
It's really easy.
It's really catchy. And then TransMan. TransMan. That's right.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I know.
You know what?
You guys just follow me.
Yeah.
Follow me. You do your part. I'll do my part.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
We've never done this. 1, 2, 3.
TransMan. He and pronouns for this guy.
TransMan.
No explanation why.
TransMan.
He's a dude that'll be in cruise.
TransMan.
He really gets me in the mood.
TransMan.
He's an FTM.
TransMan.
The man is transitioning.
TransMan.
Too cold for your conditioning.
TransMan.
He's just doing his own thing. Walking with his head held high. You don't need to wonder why. Introduce yourself and see. You can let him be the man he wants to be.
TransMan.
Converse jeans and plaid for the lad.